name's Kay and I'm the dietitian and part of the prehab team. This video is all about eating healthily and is mainly aimed at people that are generally eating well and not really suffering any great side effects from either their cancer or the treatment that they're having. The most important thing is to make sure that you're eating regular meals and that you're opting for a balanced diet, and we're going to go through what a balanced diet is. If you feel that you would like to lose weight, this is really not the time to sort of do that. It's really important that you're not losing weight because that will affect your body's ability to cope with the treatment and risk you losing muscle and strength, and especially when we're combining it with the exercise. So we really don't want you losing weight at this moment in time. It's really important that you try and maintain your weight. So as part of eating healthily and having a balanced diet, you want to make sure that you're fueling your body correctly so that you've got plenty of energy. Another really important factor is to make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids. So this excludes alcohol, but you're aiming for about 1.5 to 2 litres or 8 to 12 cups of fluid each day. If you do have alcohol, it's really important that you don't include that in your fluid requirements. You need the 1.5 litres on top of that. And if you do drink, then just aim to sort of gradually reduce the amount that you're having to no more than 14 units spread throughout the week, making sure that you have a couple of days where you don't have any alcohol through the week. You may well be very familiar with this Eatwell guide that shows foods in the proportions that we should be aiming for in our diet. So the largest sections you'll notice are the yellow carbohydrate section and the green fruit and vegetable section. So that should make up the majority of the food on your plate. The carbohydrate section is really important because it provides us with lots of energy and also fibre if we opt for high fibre choices. So foods within this group include your bread, potatoes, rice, pasta and breakfast cereals. In order to get those higher fibre options, you're looking at going for wholemeal breads, eating the skin of jacket potatoes or having new potatoes, opting for brown rice and pasta or wholemeal versions, and also having high fibre breakfast cereals, so things like porridge, Weetabix, bran flakes, things like that, which have got a little bit more fibre added to them. The other section that we should be having quite a lot of is our fruit and vegetables, and I'm sure you're well aware that we should be aiming for 5 portions of these a day. What we want to do within this section is to aim to eat a variety of different colours of fruits and vegetables because they've all got different vitamins and minerals that our bodies need, and by eating that wide variety of colours we're making sure that we get all of those in our diet. This section equally provides us with lots of fibre, so it's really good for our bowels and digestion and also for leaving us feeling nice and full. A lot of people think that fresh fruit and vegetables are best, but really it doesn't matter whether they're fresh, frozen or tinned. The only thing with your tinned fruits is to make sure that they're tinned in natural juice rather than a syrup if you're opting for tinned versions. When combined with protein, which is the sort of pinky section on the Eatwell guide, you really need this section to help combine well with exercise because it's really important for building and repairing tissue. And it's equally as important if you've had surgery to help your body to heal. You need to make sure you're having lots of protein-rich foods. The aim with protein is to make sure you're spacing it through the day, so aim to try and have 3 portions of protein spread through the day. And sources of your protein foods include beans and pulses, so things like baked beans, chickpeas, lentils, also your fish. So if you can try and get some oily fish like mackerel, herrings, sardines or kippers in, as well as your white fish like your cod and haddock. And then meat is also within this section, so that can be chicken, pork, lamb. Aim to try not to have too much processed meat from this section, so things like your sausages and ham, only in small amounts. You'll notice one of the other smaller sections is your dairy foods, and this section also contains some protein that will help with building and repair. It also contains some really important minerals and vitamins, so you've got your calcium, which is really important for your bone health, and also vitamin D. If you do have dairy-free sort of options, make sure that you're opting for those that are calcium enriched. So if you're having sort of soya milk, opt for a calcium enriched version. But dairy foods includes things like your cheese, yogurt, milk, so it's all those sort of foods, custards, really good sort of choices. Then you'll notice that the smaller section is your sort of purple section, that's your fats and oils section, and that should make up the smallest amount of our diet, but it is still really important to include. The fat section, we need our fats to help keep us nice and warm, so sometimes if people lose quite a lot of weight they can feel the cold a little bit more, and that's because fat will sort of insulate us and it also protects our vital organs. We also need it because there are some vitamins that are carried around in fats, so things like your vitamin D, which you can also get from sunlight, vitamin E and vitamin K, they're all sort of found in fats. The healthiest option within this section is to try and opt more for the plant-based sources of fats, so things like your rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, and the spreads made from those as well. Just that these are better for your heart health than your saturated animal fats, such as butter and then the meat sort of fats that you find. So just a small amount of this section. One of the things that people quite often ask is all around sort of dietary supplements and whether they need any vitamin or mineral supplements in their diet. If at all possible, we should be aiming to get all of our vitamins and minerals and everything that our body needs from having a balanced diet. The only exception to this really is during the winter months, or if you're inside a lot, that vitamin D is really important to make sure we're having a supplement of, as it's found that quite a lot of people in the UK are actually vitamin D deficient. If you do take a vitamin D supplement during the winter month, then you're looking at having 10 micrograms per day. If you find that you can't obtain a balanced diet for any reason and you do think you would benefit from a vitamin or mineral supplement, do let your medical team know, because it's really important they know if you are taking any supplements, as sometimes it can interfere with some of the treatments. And make sure that you're looking at the amounts of vitamins and minerals that are contained within it. They quite often have something called a recommended nutrient intake, or RNI, listed on the back. And what you want to make sure is that your vitamin or mineral supplement doesn't contain any more than 100% of the recommended daily amount, because this is the amount our bodies need. And sometimes some of the vitamin and mineral supplements that are available contain sort of 400 and 500% of the RNI. So just aim for one that's got a good balance and no more than 100%, and let your medical team know. Equally, let your medical team know if you decide or you are already taking any herbal supplements, because again it's really important they know in case it does interfere with any of your treatments. One of the other things people quite often ask is if there's any particular foods they should have, and there are a lot of myths around diet and cancer. What I would say is that make sure if you're looking at different diets that you're using reputable sources. There are quite a lot of information on this on the Macmillan website and also the World Cancer Research Foundation website. There's an information tick called the PIF tick, which stands for Patient Information Forum, and that shows that the sources that the information comes from have actually been checked and are reliable. One cancer myth I thought it might be worth discussing, just so you've got a little bit of information about what you're looking at, is that one of the myths is around that sugar feeds cancer cells, and that the theory is that if you starve your body of sugar and starve those cancer cells of sugar, then those cancer cells will die. If we think about that in a more scientific way, we'll notice that lots of foods are actually broken down into sugars. So things like your carbohydrate section of the Eatwell guide, so your bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and also your fruit and vegetables contain carbohydrates. And those will be broken down into sugars that our bodies will then use to fuel our bodies. So we'd be looking at cutting out an awful large section of the Eatwell guide if we were going to cut back on sugar. And actually if we did this, then our bodies still need fuel to function. So we'd actually use up our own fat stores and then our protein stores. So our muscle would be broken down to actually fuel our body, and that would leave us feeling weak. So the most important thing is to make sure we're having a balanced diet, because we can't avoid all foods that are either containing sugar or that are broken down to sugar. One of the main things is just that we're following the main healthy eating guidelines and not having too many high sugar foods in our diet. So things like sweets, cakes and biscuits, have those in moderation, as they're all things we can survive without, although they are obviously very nice to have. So just have those sort of foods in moderation, and that's the most sensible approach. But really it's having a balanced diet and trying to enjoy your food. Thank you.